Ladies and gentlemen, we're really delighted this morning to have an address from one of Australia's great Australians when it comes to the energy transition. Dr. Andrew Forrest is joining us now, and I think the future of mining will be defined by one question: who moves first and who gets left behind? Well, our next speaker has built one of the world's great mining companies, but he is a bit like me, a little bit of a revolutionary. He's putting his money where his mouth is. He's investing in the transition. It's demonstrating that it can be done. Decarbonising the mining sector, value adding from the processing of that sector, setting the national debate, being able to influence at critical moments like this critical moment on the eve of a federal budget where Australia has a fork in the road decision to make. Are we doubling down on the old system, or are we going to invest in the system of the future? Please join me in welcoming Dr. Forrest AO.
Fortescue aims for impossible dream.
Twiggy's grand bet on Australian iron ore turns sour.
Investors dump Fortescue metals. I'm happy to be chained to the tracks because I know that I will not be killed by a train.
Fortescue amounts to nothing more than a $1 billion concept stock.
Holes in Forrest's green trucking dream.
This is not real zero, this is just real stupid.
Fortescue pulls pin on more green ambitions.
Twiggy whitewashes his own green emissions.
A rough year for Australia's Fortescue. Green energy plans in doubt by arrival of Trump.
It's not feasible.
Promises have been made to electrify. That is not achievable in our view in the time frame that has been suggested.
There is no replacement for the use of that diesel to grow our food, to run our mines, which make all the money for us all.
Decarbonising large industrial sectors depends on technologies that are not yet commercially viable at scale, rely on immature supply chains, or lack established markets.
This is a classic case of sensible policy and logic being lost in the fog of grandstanding and virtue signalling by Fortescue.
So I just want to introduce that loser. Great to meet you all. And we're still here, and we're going green. Of course, we're all going green because we absolutely must. If you're enjoying organic life, then climate change is with you, and it's going to change all our lives. However, it's also highly economic, and while you've seen all the blurb, you've seen all the critics, you've seen all the people with very serious vested interest to make sure there's no change, I would like to show you now, if I could, what change looks like. Thank you.
Cast your mind back 3 years. We set the bold ambition to decarbonise Fortescue's operations.
Fortescue Metals is planning to ditch oil and gas.
It's going to cost about $6.2 billion US.
Fortescue is proof that heavy industry can decarbonise. We're eliminating fossil fuels right now, and by 2030 we'll stop using 1 billion litres of diesel equivalent every year.
We're showing that real zero is entirely possible. And not only is it possible, we're showing that it's profitable.
At Fortescue, we're building the world's largest independently operated replicable green grid designed to deliver reliable firmed power at scale.
Every day, we're installing over 3,500 of these solar panels. In the future, we're going to automate this process and scale up even bigger.
By 2028, we will deliver enough solar, wind and batteries with advanced transmission infrastructure and AI-driven energy management systems to end fossil fuels, eliminate volatility and unlock cheaper green energy.
These battery energy storage systems store the energy from our solar and wind farms so that we can dispatch it 24 hours a day into our operations.
And this is where it all connects, our stored renewable energy powering our battery electric fleet.
Hundreds of pieces of new green equipment delivered to our sites in less than 5 years. You can see them in action right now. By the end of the year, 40% of our dig fleet will already be replaced with green units. And our tech goes beyond the Pilbara, the green pioneer showing the world how we can eliminate emissions from global shipping.
We're not even phased anymore about the critics. We're going to show everybody out there that it's a no-brainer to do it.
Real investment, real progress, real zero in motion. That's the power of now.
Okay, thank you, fellow Australians. We're out there, we're having a proper crack on behalf of all of you. That's what you'd expect large companies who have done well riding on Australia's fabulous economy to do. You don't expect us to hide behind diesel fuel rebate credits. You don't expect us to hide behind next year's bonus as an excuse why we shouldn't move. We have to move. The big end of town, you should hold to account, ladies and gentlemen. Companies like mine and bigger is where we can afford to innovate, where we can afford to drive. So when you hear from large companies that they can't afford to, that the technology isn't there, get hold of your local politician and say, don't ask these companies to go green when you've got a diesel fuel rebate worth billions of dollars of net cash to them to stop them going green. It's absurd politics that we have a situation in our country where we're being asked all the time to switch off diesel so there's more for mums and dads, yet there's a rebate going to the biggest consumers in the world, who are the people who least need it. Let me introduce our company, Fortescue. We've executed $46 billion, so when I hear, oh, they don't know what they're doing, I've just got to point to that. That is a record with time and cost compared to peers. 50% faster, 50% less cost. Let's look at diesel only. Now, we burn, like all our peers, a hell of a lot of gas as well, but let's just look at diesel, because with the Strait of Hormuz closed, you could be looking at $3 to $4 a barrel of diesel, a litre of diesel. The Strait of Hormuz is now weaponised and commercialised. It wasn't. Before the invasion, it was an open sea lane. It won't be again, ladies and gentlemen. My own small experience with Ukraine has taught me, in the number of years that Ukraine has had to shield itself from an overwhelming force, and it's done it. It's switched a front line to a front zone, 30 to 40 kilometres wide. You enter that 30 to 40 kilometre zone, you die. Drones, which cost dozens of dollars only, will take you out. That front line's not moving, ladies and gentlemen, and while not wanting to, I've been shown the factories where these weapons are made. They're not in caves, ladies and gentlemen. They're like Iran will be, hiding in plain sight. You'll never know where they are. So I just look at Iran and say, there's not a lot of way out now. If the president wants to extend past 60 days, past his ceasefire, he's got to go back to Congress. That's effectively a win for Iran. Well, I can't judge where this is going to go, ladies and gentlemen, but I can tell you the Strait of Hormuz is not opening up anytime soon. So for diesel, it's all bad news. And I'm imploring the Australian government to stop the rebate. Every company enjoying, every digger, every trader who drives a ute, every fisherman, every farmer, you get a full rebate up to $50 million a year. At $50 million a year, you can't really say you're just an Aussie battler now. You're not really on Struggle Street at over $50 million a year. So let's not have the big end of town, the Mineral Council of Australia, which supposedly represent the mining industry, but just represent the big end of town, because we're not in it. Don't let them say, oh, we can't survive without that extra $2.5 billion in our back pocket. It's just not true. You can do this, big companies, 2.3 gigawatts, 1.5 gigawatts of solar, megawatts of solar, 800 megawatts of wind, 5 gigawatts plus of battery storage, 600 kilometre transmission lines, and technology which sure didn't exist last year, but does now. And I want to get to a guy called Glenn Carruthers in a second, who will explain how miraculous this new tech is, and it's available to all of us. Let's have a quick look at the grid of Fortescue. Over the other side of Australia, where we generate the wealth we all enjoy here in Sydney, is a green grid emerging. This is a green grid. Looks pretty simple. That's because it is pretty simple. This green grid can be replicated all over Australia. There's nothing Doctor Who, Dr. Seuss or Harry Potter about this grid. This is just maths and physics and engineers and a bit of courage and leadership. If we all worry about what the critics say, if we all worry about a point in time and make our judgment calls on a point in time and not the trends like the Strait of Hormuz that you see in front of you, then we're going to make some pretty bad decisions. And those directors of big companies who have make their decisions on points in time, they're going to make bad decisions. I want to ask them to look at this trend. There's a massive trend sitting in front of you. Here is encapsulated all we're doing, wind and solar, but battery electric storage systems, rail, which is going green. These are the biggest, heaviest railways on Earth, ladies and gentlemen. There are no bigger. Don't take my word for it, Guinness Book of Records. And fast chargers, which we invented. This is the ecosystem of a green mining company. Will burn billion litres plus of diesel a year equivalent, going to will burn zero, saving $1 billion a year. Now, that's not chopped liver, $1 billion a year. I don't want that to just flip off people's minds. That pays for a truckload of dividends, of people's dreams, hopes and aspirations and philanthropy. What it does is 800 pieces of heavy diesel consuming equipment already gone. Already gone. So we're not talking about in the future, we're talking about right now. Electric drills, these things chop through 1 million litres of diesel a year. 240-tonne battery electric trucks and these huge excavators. Now I just want to talk to you a little bit about big power generators, which you can see dotted around the horizon here in Sydney or Australia or anywhere in the world. You have these massive spinning flywheels. It's called rotary kinetic energy, or massive spinning turbines. When the grid goes down, when it gets attacked by a missile in Ukraine or Iran, or by a weather event in the Pilbara, or by some fruitcake running into a pole somewhere else, when that grid is attacked, what keeps it going right now, think of a wheel on a horse and cart. I want to take you to that because that technology probably hasn't changed much since horse and cart. This tech is quite simple. It spins. Your big generators around New South Wales have this huge spinning kinetic energy. So when your grid goes down, that rotational kinetic energy keeps the grid going while you run around and fix it. It's declining fast. It's very basic. Why Glenn Carruthers said this: the grid healed itself in front of my eyes. For most of my 35-year career as a power systems engineer, I thought this was impossible. This is a glimpse of the future, and bar the birth of my child, the most exciting thing I have ever witnessed. I got to say to Glenn, you've got to get out, mate. But what he's saying is that without any spinning inertia, which you see in every single generator around the world, AI and batteries, simply when that grid got attacked, it reversed the electrons. The batteries held the electrons, it sent them the other way, that grid stayed untouched. If you're watching these lights, when the grid got attacked and the grid went down and AI fixed it, you would not see these lights flicker. That's how efficient it is. Now, this AI emerged on us last year. We put ourselves in the position of success and AI got us there. You put a cloud floating over a solar bank or a slight drop in the wind in a wind farm and you've connected a whole grid to it, everything changes in nanoseconds. Humans cannot make decisions that fast. But AI can and has, and as you can see with Glenn, has done it. So just quickly, what's happening right now? I mean, you're talking about the future, Fortescue. What's happening right now? Well, 300,000 megawatt hours of energy already, 22% of our electricity use right now, 62% of our non-iron bridge, which is all our hematite operations. That's 180 million tonnes a year, from shifting 1 billion tonnes of earth per year, was met through solar. And in December 27, a very happy day, 100% was met purely from solar. Timeline to 2030, when we're going to be out of diesel, out of gas, is upon us now. The green grid, fully complete. It'll be mostly complete next year, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we're banking savings as we speak, but mostly complete by 27, done by 2028, by 2030. By 2028, ladies and gentlemen, by November 2028, Fortescue is locked and loaded. All we're waiting on is the delivery of equipment. The pain is behind us by the end of 28, and by 2030, the final equipment is delivered, and we've stopped burning fossil fuel. And I just want to point out, what does it mean? It means big companies all across Australia don't complain about fruitcakes, despots, oligarchs, and invaders who don't care for your company, who don't care for your shareholders, who don't care for the mums and dads of our country. In fact, the words were, couldn't care less. Don't complain when they control your future, when they drive your standard of living, because they drive your cost of living. Don't complain if you've stayed locked into diesel, 90-odd% is imported. Don't complain, just say, I didn't move. I had a diesel fuel rebate. The politicians stopped me from moving. No volatility, no imports, no shocks. Made here in Australia. What's not to love about Australian made? That's what I want for our energy. So, as I mentioned, each digger saves 1 million litres of diesel a year. Fuel costs already down $100 million US, not chopped liver. And aiming at $1 billion out by 2030 US dollars. I just want to say, why are we alone? Why aren't others following? Well, here is the answer. The diesel fuel rebate. Why would you change? 90% imported, that's the reason. No control over your own future, that's another reason. Shareholders and mums and dads suffering the shocks because you, big diesel consumers, chop through billions and billions of litres of diesel, which you've seen from Fortescue, you could replace with homegrown energy, and all those litres of diesel could go back to mums and dads on Struggle Street in Australia, pushing down the cost of diesel, pushing down their cost of living, rising their standards of living, all because you took decisions. But no, we have a diesel fuel rebate. Mining alone burns 9.6 billion litres of diesel a year. That tax credit system allocates 10.8 billion. I'm sorry to use all these big numbers, but just imagine the schools, the hospitals, imagine the teachers, the nurses. Forget the huge numbers. Walk in the shoes of people who are struggling and then ask, really? $10 billion? $4.5 billion to the mining industry? More spent on diesel rebates than the Army or the Air Force of our nation? Hold the phone, did we know that? A rebate which is more than our armies and air forces. Makes no sense to me. That fuel tax credit system, let's just look at some of the damage. Since 2006, it swallowed 122 billion plus of your money. 55 billion to miners. By 2030, we keep this insane policy going. It's going to cost you punters 184 billion. You could build the state of New South Wales with that. It's just horrendous, 83 billion to mining. Now, I'm a miner. Trust mostly what someone says, trust completely what they do. As a miner, I'm receiving these credits, and as a miner, I'm saying, this is old pork barrel politics from John Howard's era when he was sliding into a losing election and he thought he'd buy off the farmers, he thought he'd buy off the fishermen, the cockies with the diesel fuel rebate. But what he did was hand a huge wad of cash inadvertently to a part of the economy which didn't need it, which is the big end of town and the mining industry. Now, at a $50 million limit, all those people which Howard wanted to win votes from, they're looked after. Big mining, don't go jumping in after the farmers and saying, I'm going to hide behind the little cockies of Australia. I'm going to hide behind the fishermen of Australia, the tradies in little utes. I'm going to hide behind them. I'm going to say, don't take it from them. When really what you're saying is, don't take it from me. Hear that. When you hear this rubbish advertising, it's coming. Fortescue, that bloke Forrest, he's going to try and debilitate poor farmers and poor fishermen, poor ute driving tradies. Just say, mate, when was a 50 million a year person a ute driving tradie? Don't give us that crap. You're hiding behind the mums and dads of Australia. It's literally like when someone walks into a room with a pistol and you grab a child and you put it up in front of you to defend you. That's what you're doing when you hide behind farmers, when you hide behind fishermen, when you hide behind tradies at the big end of town. So just quickly, the Mineral Council calls this an industry-wrecking proposal. I don't know. I'm from industry. Do I look like a wreck? Let's just have a look at this, shall we? BHP Rio and Fortescue collected $1.35 billion last year from taxpayers, net profit to us. Cost us nothing, we just got it. While we made at the same time $34.6 billion. Just look at the maths. 5%. 5%. 34 billion, and we're whinging about 1.35 billion being taken from us? Hold the phone. Is this fair? Is this sensible? No, it's not. There, that's a quick shot of the margins, that little bit of yellow. I think you can survive without it, miners. BHP, Rio, Fortescue. I'm really proud that we are the major taxpayers in our country. I want to talk to you about big tech, much bigger companies than us. Big foreign gas companies, much bigger companies than us. They pay less tax collectively, kujunk, collectively than one little Aussie battler does called Fortescue a year. That whole big tech sector, that whole big foreign gas sector pays less tax collectively than just Fortescue. How is that fair? How is that fair? So, look, there's the 18 companies. They won't like being named. Imagine what the federal government could do with that $2.5 billion. Just look at it, 22,000 teachers, 2,500 homes, $10,250 household energy rebates to 10 million Aussies, or 16,000 aged care places. This is each year, ladies and gentlemen. This is not collectively to the next budget, blah, 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 politician speak. This is a year. Come on, Australia. We can do better than this. Then you've got the safeguard mechanism. Now, this is groovy. We hear a lot about the safeguard mechanism. It gives you a safeguard mechanism for $37. You wind that up against $194 you get as a credit as a mining company. What are you going to do, baby? Huh? What are you going to do? You're going to go for the safeguard mechanism or the diesel fuel rebate? You're going to say, thank you, Mr. Bowen, for the safeguard mechanism, because I'm going to pay it because I get another $160 in my back pocket, thank you, taxpayer, from the fuel tax credit. There you go. That's why we all love the safeguard mechanism, it's the cheapest get-out-of-jail-free card. You get $200 on the way past go. Woohoo! So here we have it. Australia spent an extra $4 billion on fossil fuels since the start of the Middle East conflict. We can continue to support imported fossil fuel, or we can make all our own energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Australia can make its own energy. Let's get out there and do it. We have an issue where we have grids and we plant energy near the grid. I have a little company called Squadron Energy. It's probably the largest wind player in the country, and we work and work and work with our communities to get them across the line to support. We're the only developer of a wind farm in New South Wales this year, full stop, one. That's us. But I really say to our leaders, put the grid where the energy is. Don't try and jam the energy where your old, dilapidated design for fossil fuel system, not sustainable energy, grid is. Put it where the energy is, Team Australia. So look, we're here, there's a great big truck on the left-hand side. We call it a dinky toy. Try running this on a battery. It looks big, but we could put a few of these great big multi-wheel, multi-axle trucks in the back of that 240-tonne loader, and we run that on a battery. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
No, just sit down, or
yeah.
do you want to walk the stage?
Over here? No. Sit down.
Well, thanks. You want to turn me on? Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Forrest. So many questions to ask. What a performance. Everything we've come to love and expect, and we love having you over here on the East Coast in particular. I'm David McElrea. I'm the incoming Chief Executive of the Smart Energy Council. I'll ask Dr. Forrest some... Oh, thank you. I wasn't searching for that, but, you know, I'll always take a clap. I'll ask Dr. Forrest some questions, and if we have time, we might try and take some questions from the floor. Questions, not comments. Don't want the first one to be more of a comment than a question if we have time. So I've had the privilege, Dr. Forrest, of being taken through your operation about 6 weeks ago when you turned your first train on. You had your bell ringing session in the Pilbara. One of the things that struck me, and you referred to it in your speech, is that you are talking about real zero, not net zero. Now, I don't understand. You know, Paris Agreement is net zero. Net zero is what? Why are you doing real zero where you could just do net zero? Why is real zero the ambition? No.
You're going to have one of these on. Which one? Which one? Okay, thank you. Look, I've really got no time for net zero. The word net got jammed into the Paris Agreement by the fossil fuel lobby. Okay, it is just a cop out. It means like the fuel, the safeguard mechanism. You can just buy a few credits. You don't have to do anything. You can plant trees next to a rainforest, or you can threaten to knock down a rainforest and not knock it down. You get a tax credit. I mean, I just don't see anything real about them. There's been massive studies done on how effective carbon credit are to helping saving your environment. Of the really big studies which I've read, 5 out of 6 made no difference, and 1 out of 6 is a question mark. So I just don't want to run a company, and I don't think we should run a country, and I don't think we should run a world on a fake credit system. Thank you, mate.
I agree.
If we can profitably stop burning fossil fuel, if we can accept we've got a microcosm in our economy which gives politicians a path forward when they say, well, we can't go spend taxpayers' money, fair enough, on something which isn't proven. We need to see a prototype. We need to see proof of concept, and then we can do it. Well, your proof of concept, your massive prototype, is Fortescue. Fortescue's going real zero. We're simply stopping burning diesel and gas. Real zero. In the process, Fortescue, 22,000 strong plus of us and growing, is a kinder company to work at. It's cleaner to work at. It's way smarter. It's way more innovative. It's root and branch restructuring itself to be fully green, and in that process, we're having to adopt new technology. We're having to look for cutting edge everywhere, and that drives the morale, it drives the spirit, drives the culture of Fortescue. You can look at the people trying to get employment at Fortescue. They go up the street and around the corner in queues trying to work at Fortescue. You don't get that in other companies. This is what I'm saying to Australia's politicians. You've got a proof of concept. Fortescue, it's a bloody big proof of concept, mate. $46 billion proof of concept. Adopt it for our country. We're short of an excuse now. We have proof.
Thank you. What would you say to those, and I should say the Smart Energy Council, we're thrilled to have Fortescue as one of our executive members. We're heavily involved in the diesel tax campaign. I want to acknowledge Tim Buckley, who's in the crowd from Climate Energy Finance, because the model that Dr. Forrest has shown is a model that his organisation has come up with, and where you, as you flashed on the screen, it's only a small number of mining companies affected, including your own. So we are all supporters, but isn't it just, I've worked in politics myself, isn't it all too hard? I mean, is this just something you're going to do for 5 minutes and give up on, or is this something that Fortescue's in for the long fight?
No, look, we're not giving up on this. I mean, like, we're not giving up on going green, we're not giving up on our shareholders, we're not giving up on our company. This is something which we see as errantly wrong in the Australian system. It was old pork barrel politics going into an election. You know, if this government doesn't remove it, then the next government will come along and say, well, that was a free kick, I'm going to remove it.
Yep.
So it will get removed. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. You can listen to all the bleating from the Minerals Council saying it's going to hurt industry. Just remember, 1.35 billion last year against 36 billion of profit. 35 billion margin to keep the industry happy.
Yeah. It does seem mad that we're paying people to import diesel which we can't get into the country. If you have to think of the stupidest policy we have as a country, this would be up there. So look, we're right behind you, and hopefully this time next year we can have you back and celebrate its removal. So
Can I just comment on this? Diesel is in limited supply.
Yeah.
When we go around Asia and pat ourselves on the back, Australians, for securing Australia's diesel supplies, don't think we were clever negotiators. You're one of the few advanced economies in our region. We simply outbid other countries. To shore up our own supplies, we outbid other developing nations or developing nations. Strait Hormuz stays closed, you're going to see serious suffering in those countries. We outbid them. We took diesel from them. Now, we shouldn't be taking diesel from anyone. We should be replacing it.
Can I pick up on just a slight change of topic, a comment you made towards the end, because as you said, you not only had a miner but a renewable energy company in Fortescue is itself a renewable energy. I've seen that with my own eyes now, but Squadron. You said before you think we need to put the grid where the energy is. Can you just expand a little bit about what you mean by that and what you think that means for how we plan our networks and our grids?
Well, you start with the Pilbara. Billions and billions and billions of litres of diesel get consumed there. When you know you've got all the land in the world you'd ever need to put renewable energy, so you could take a huge draw, a huge pressure off the Australian economy by encouraging green electricity grids in that massive industrial centre called the Pilbara. Believe me, there's enough room. And secondly, switching now to the East Coast, Squadron's done the hard yard through getting community support, $1,000 rebates, which we make personally to farmers, a whole range of other measures to ensure that when we develop our own renewable energy assets, we have full community support. That's working, but is it the long-term solution? No, the long-term solution is that instead of putting wind farms where you do a lot of work socially to make sure the cockies and the communities support you, put it where the cockies and communities beg you to have it. Where they really need other income which doesn't come off the sheep's back or the cattle which waters are subject to drought, put it there where they need an income which is not going to be dictated by the weather, by the rainfall, where they get an income year in, year out, decade in, decade out. They're needing renewable energy assets in their backyard. Now, that just means we put a grid a few hundred kilometres further out. Don't say you can't do it. Little old Aussie battler, Fortescue, did a 600-plus kilometre transmission line, just one company. So we know you big, ugly New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, you can do it. Do you want to do it? You should do it. Put the transmission lines out to where there's masses of renewable energy, there's super high radiance, there's reliable wind, put battery systems out there and take the grid to the energy.
Just one last question, and I think, just correct me, because how long is the transmission line? Is it 4,000 kilometres of lines out there that you've built? It's something amazing. Just some of those facts that people need to go and see this. Dr. Forrest put that map up, but this is an actual energy grid that you're operating. You're dealing with all these. Do you have any more facts? Is it 4,000? I got that right. I can't remember. Look, 600 that you were building, and
collectively, if you put our railway lines with BHP, Rio Tinto, Fortescue, and our power lines, it would be thousands.
Yeah.
Just Fortescue alone has done over 600 odd kilometres of transmission lines, and that gives us absolute flexibility. It means if any part of the grid is attacked or goes down, then it automatically heals itself because you've got AI and batteries everywhere now. So it is just a bulletproof system. It costs a fortune to go build these huge generators, which taxpayers pay for. Now you've got a much, much cheaper solution. You put batteries with renewable energy, you don't need them. The AI fixes the problem.
All right, we might take some questions from the crowd. We've got about 10 minutes left. So I've got a hand up here. Can we get some roving mics? The third gentleman with the chambray, who's standing up a little bit, had his hand up first. If I can get a roving mic to this gentleman here who's standing up. Please, questions, not comments, if I can be so kind.
Dr. Forrest, I especially came to Sydney to hear you, and it was an impressive speech. Thank you. My question is about the solar battery and wind we are talking about. Will we be in same position in 20 years if we don't start manufacturing those here in Australia? Thank you.
No, I don't think so. Yes, I'd love to see manufacturing here in Australia. I'm a big driver of manufacturing in Australia. As you can see with energy, with a Cobra, with R.M. Williams, I massively believe in it. But I also believe we can make the best hats and boots and energy in the world here. Other countries are better equipped at making batteries, making solar panels. If we want to put it here, great. First class, have a crack at it. But no, it's already razor thin margins overseas and the highest tech overseas. And because I believe in a rules-based order, I believe that free trade is key. If some countries can do things better than other countries, then use that to your best advantage, Australia.
Thank you, Mr. Forrest. Climate Capital Forum, Blair is my name. It's absolutely music to the ears of everyone in this room. It knows the cost just makes sense, the economics make sense. I feel like we need to see that slide of the companies holding us back one more time. Could we go back and show the slide? Because that's what we're up against, and we need to know our enemy and look it in the eye.
Amen. Shame. Can you put that slide up, please?
I think, again, another advertisement, Climate Energy Finance. If you look at their report, you can see all the mathematics worked out there as well. So I think we'll have some
putting
women.
that slide up, guys.
Let's have some women, because we had a lot of blokes talking. There's a woman over there with her hand up in the stripes.
Thanks. It's a great privilege to have this question. We're mentored actually by Rick Richardson, one of your collaborators, and we understand how much you're an advocate and evangelist for innovation. But what my invitation is, as a question, is if you're talking about working to our strengths, Australia excels in PBPs and contracts. How would you propose to introduce a bit more co-opetition by building stronger contract structures to support innovation in Australia, to partner with scary but big budget competition companies like EcoFlow, right? Like, we're really a drop in the water in the ocean compared to the excellence of China. And I'd really love to have some of your insights and wisdom on this.
Well, that was a fabulous advertisement. And can I say that I fully support where you're going. I'd like to encourage large companies to have a percentage of their contracts, a percentage of their procurement going to small companies, just to give them a crack. Now, if they don't work, they don't work. But if they do, you can make so many tiny little companies like Fortescue grow into really big companies. And look, we're an overnight success, which took 2 decades plus. I know what it's like, and when you get a hand from a big company, I did, it goes a very long way.
This gentleman in the second row, maybe, and then this lady at the back, and then we might have time for one more.
Thank you very much. My name is Ahmad Zahedi. I'm from James Cook University. I actually watched your interview many times. The last one was your interview with Bloomberg. I enjoyed very much watching your interviews. European countries, some, America, China, even Middle East countries, they are moving away from fossil fuel, replacing by hydrogen, green hydrogen. I want to hear from you, what is your opinion or consideration in the future fuel, green hydrogen for Australia?
Look, I think green hydrogen has a fantastic future. We've been overwhelmed by demand for green electricity. So while there's such a huge demand for green electricity, there's not enough electrons which we can make quickly enough to be able to afford to also make green hydrogen. I'm hoping that situation reverses. When we have excess green electrons, you're going to put that energy straight into making green hydrogen. Then you can make green fertilisers through green ammonia for Australian farmers. You can run ships on it forever. You can run trucks, trailers, trains on it forever. It's getting Australia to a point where you're making enough green electricity that household power bills have come right down. You've got excess electrons. You make green hydrogen, that miracle fuel with that, as you know. If you burn green ammonia, it goes back to nitrogen, which plants are pretty happy with. And if you burn hydrogen, it goes back to water, which we're all pretty happy with. So it's a bit of a miracle molecule. It rests on the back of getting enough green electrons. So it's one of the reasons why I'm supporting green electricity for everyone in bulk.
Two more. Is that enough?
Hi there, Ed Lynch-Bell, Second Mouse. Last year, 28 terawatt hours of renewable energy went unsold in the NEM. Out there, we've got things we can get from China in 4 or 5 weeks: electric trucks, batteries, solar panels. What can we do to get government focused on the now, not on what we can do in 3 years, 4 years' time, not in strategic plans, but in getting thousands of electric trucks on ships from China, getting thousands more batteries, getting things done right now?
Look, I've seen Germany, which, by the way, has really crap solar compared to us, you've probably noticed. I've seen them put household funding to put batteries into their systems so that they could draw the power out. So all that energy wasted, which you refer to, I think is just devastating. That's energy we could have used, but we didn't have, as you've talked about, the equipment which could store that in their own batteries, and we didn't have subsidised batteries across households which could have taken it all in and used all that free power for free. So all I can say is that other nations are moving to support households, we could as well, and we have a huge free kick with our solar, which is why all that energy sadly got wasted.
Hi, Sarah Reid from Electrify Canberra Community Group. Thank you so much for your leadership in this important space.
Back here.
Hello, over here. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Twiggy. Love what you do. Thank you for your climate action. The barriers that you've been talking about today seem mostly political. Will you run as an independent?
Oh, this would be a scoop.
Sarah, I honestly think I serve the Australian people much better where I am, and continuing to drive policy.
We could have had the front pages there, Sarah. Can we ask one more from one of our board members, Rosemary at the front here? Last question.
Hi, I'm Rosie Barnes from Public Consulting and SEC Board. One of the most interesting things to me about Fortescue is the brand new technologies, or not quite yet technologies, that you invest in, the mining equipment, for example, also wind turbines you've chosen with the Nabralift towers, huge rotors. I'm just wondering, do you worry about the likelihood that things will go wrong? And assuming you're going to say no, what is your strategy, or how do you actually execute on these really risky technologies in fast timeframes?
Okay, it's a really great question. Do I worry about it? Only every day and night. Does it wake me up at night? No, it doesn't. Just keeps me awake all night. So yeah, look, I do worry about it. The Fortescue values really protects us. We go for a crazy brave plan A. They're most likely to fail, these crazy brave plan A's, but we then have bulletproof plan B's. So we know, say with the Nabra wind lift towers, for instance, we've seen them work because we've built prototypes, but if they didn't work, we'd just have a plan B to switch back to the existing wind towers. It's worthwhile, though, going for that plan A, because you don't need the huge cranes which cause communities so much disruption when you put up, say, a 100-metre wind tower. That is a really big wind tower, but if you want to get wind from anywhere, you need a 188-metre wind tower. Blades which are nearly 100 metres long, and that's what the Nabra wind automatic lift does. Small cranes doesn't crap the community off because they're not blocking up roads, and then once you've got the first module up, they self-lift. So this is new technology, which we're pioneering. Like, we've put $1.5 billion collectively into battery technology. We're automating solar panel rollout. If we can bring this up from 3,000 to 4,000 a day to 30,000 to 40,000 a day, then you've got the creation of energy, permanent energy, unimaginable in history. That scale of energy you can only get from fossil fuel. If we can do that in months instead of years, say 10 months instead of 10 years, then you're changing the face of the world energy industry. And going back to the gentleman who asked about green hydrogen, that's when you can drop the electricity costs right down, because you're producing energy at cost of money and maintenance. That's it. And then successfully storing it for the average punter. So all these technologies are on the cusp, and like the other lady asked, if we give contracts to these little players like we have done everywhere, then you give them a boost. They don't always work, but when they do, they can change the world.
Well, that's not a bad note to end on, actually, is it? Dr. Forrest, I think one of the great pleasures of having you over is sometimes the West and the East can feel like different countries. And on the East Coast, I don't think people appreciate what you're doing in the Pilbara, the revolutionary changes that are occurring there. So it's just great to see this extraordinary scale of what you're achieving in such a short amount of time. And for us to take that away, but also to take away your clear passion, your intelligence and your devotion to this cause is inspiring to me. We're privileged to have you as a member of the Smart Energy Council, and thank you very much for your address today.